Hassan wants to speak to us from Slough. Go for it, Hassan.
Hi, assalamu alaikum, Maajid. I mentioned before that I am one of the RAP trainers, so that's the workshop for training related to Prevent. And I believe it has been a success. I totally disagree with Andy Michon, the ex-MI5 officer, who said it's been a failure. I mean, whatever she says, I will take with a pinch of salt, because she is also part of the Truther movement that you would have heard of, the conspiracy theories, who she believes that 9/11 was an inside job, for flag operation. So I take that with a pinch of salt. But, Prevent has been a success, and the successful stories are not actually publicised to protect the identity of the victim.
And Hassan, you say you work as a Prevent officer, right? Now, Sajid Javid, in this speech, is due to mount a defence of Prevent itself as well. So what I'd like you to do, because I want to have you also just reflect on that. So if you hold the line for me as well, stay there, and we will be coming back to you as soon as we can after the news headlines, because I think we'd really like to hear your perspective in response to some of the criticisms of Prevent, and you'll be aware of some of its successes as well, because it has come under quite a heavy scrutiny from within the community. People upset, perhaps feeling that it targets Muslims, when actually, its purpose is to challenge all forms of extremism, even on the far right. But we'll come back to you, Hassan. Thank you very much. Back to Hassan. Hassan, you work in Prevent. The Home Secretary is right now speaking, and he's going to be mounting a defence of Prevent as well. To speak to us a bit about why you think Prevent comes under such attack, and what you think should be said in its defence.
I think it's just propaganda. I mean, I work as a voluntary role in Prevent in my normal job. I mean, I'm in sales, but I hope to become Member of Parliament one day. But in terms of Prevent, there's been a lot of propaganda. There have been some mistakes within Prevent, i.e. wrong referrals. And these wrong referrals are actually blown out of proportion. And what I've noticed is that academic institutions, which are sort of generally left-wing, they latch on to this as part of their agenda against the Conservative government, I think. But generally, I think, I've been through the training. I've trained teachers, for example, as a trainer. And what these conspiracy theorists believe is that this is all a government strategy to spy on Muslims, which it isn't, because it does incorporate white radicalism, as you just mentioned. And they think that this is a police state. And because I was so angry with this propaganda, you may recall I actually told you I participated in a debate on a local radio station in Slough from someone who I think represented Cage. And I was just taken aback with the amount of false information they were propagating. And I think it's a way of controlling opinion amongst Muslims and fanning the flames of hatred. So I kept on saying, look, terrorists or those who are referred to Prevent are not on the radar of the intelligence services, nothing to do with the police, etc. It's a completely separate route altogether. So time and time again, there's been a lot of propaganda against that. So I'm fully supportive of Prevent. This new government strategy on countering terrorism does not mean it's a failure of Prevent. It just means we're changing our stance here. And in one of the items from the Home Office, they say that they want to protect young people from twisted propaganda of radicals. And I completely agree with that, because I've been telling the Home Office that the way we do this is to confront these terrorists or sympathisers, radicals, head on. Okay. And when they are exposed, then the followers of these radical groups will actually just fall away. So I think I'm glad that the Home Office is going in that direction. And also the 2,000 extra officers that's going to be recruited for MI5. I hope that a sizable number come from the Muslim community, as well as the white supremacy, infiltrate white supremacists. I've mentioned something now which I haven't before, which is this, that in the late 90s, I was thinking of joining the intelligence services through the territorial army. Obviously, the reason being, protect the realm, queen and country, etc. But for me, I really wanted to know who is actually behind all these Muslim terrorist organizations, all these radicals, because what they are preaching and what Islam says are completely different. But I decided not to go down that route, because a verse from the Quran, chapter 49, verse 12, which actually talks about backbiting and spying on each other, and it condemns that. That's what actually stopped me from doing it. But if I had known then what I know now, looking back 20 years, I definitely would have joined the intelligence services, because as you know, I'm sure you'll agree that some parts of the Sharia law can be rescinded if it means a life and death situation. And in the case of terrorism, it's a death and death situation.
So you're somebody who's clearly a devout British Muslim and regrets that you didn't join the intelligence services to help this country's fight against terrorism.
Yeah, I do regret it, because at that time, this is the late 90s when I went to an interview with the Territorial Army Intelligence Division, and at that time terrorism was actually rising. It wasn't as pronounced as we see today. I think what we saw at the beginning of terrorism, when Al-Qaeda was actually established in the late 90s. But as I say, there's a specific verse that prevents, that condemns spying